Good morning, everybody. This is our philosophy yoga class. And today I thought we'd go over a concept in yoga philosophy called the gunas. I don't know if you've ever heard about this before. There's so much rich, practical advice in the yoga tradition. And the gunas is a way to organize our language around the way energy moves in the world. So the ancient yogis identified three different kind of ways that energy moves. It's funny, before we were starting class today, we were having this conversation about energy and how important it is for how we feel and how we navigate through the world. So the yogis talked a lot about energy. They had a pretty sophisticated understanding of it and a lot of tools about how to work with energy. But they saw the energy moving in basically three different patterns. They saw energy moving in a very sluggish and slow and kind of like grounded way. And they called this tamas energy. And tamas energy is an important part of our experience as alive beings. I mean, if you don't have tamas energy, you wouldn't be able to have a nice night's sleep or be able to go into a nice relaxation practice. And also tamas energy, although it's slower and sluggish, it's also a good place to go if you want to feel more grounded. They also identified the type of energy that's super active, very, very snap, 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 lots of electrical stuff going on in the brain, busy, 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 getting stuff done. And they called that rajas, energy that's really, really bouncing around, energy that's moving very, very quickly. And rajas is a good state of mind to be in. In the morning, we have to get some rajas energy going. We'll be focusing on that a bit in practice this morning, because we've just woken up from sleep and we want to get things moving and get our thoughts organized for the day and be action oriented during the daylight hours. So rajas energy is good for getting things done. Nothing wrong with it. Of course, you can see if rajas energy doesn't know how to calm down, if we don't know how to reground or go into relaxation, then we're going to burn out. So too much rajas energy is not a good thing. In general, our Western culture is rajasic in nature. It's go, 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 go. The city never sleeps type thing. So you can see as a culture, we're burning out, and that is presented to us in many of our chronic diseases and the types of anger that we see, the type of political discourse that we see nowadays. A lot of that is a product of too much rajasic energy. There is a balance point between these two kind of poles, and it's called sattva. And sattvic energy is the type of energy where you're feeling awake and you're present, but at the same time, you're feeling relatively calm and not necessarily needing to move. But if you do have a sattva sort of vibe going on, you can move, you can still achieve things and get things done, but there's a clarity to what you're doing. There's a calmness to what you're doing. There's a sense of intention to what you're doing. There's an intelligence guiding what you're doing. So you might be sitting still, you might be moving, but when you're in a sattvic state of mind, there's clarity, illumination. Does that make sense? Those three different kinds of movement. So we've just come, we're doing this class live in the morning. We've just come from our tamasic state that we got into, hopefully, last night when we were sleeping. And we're going to heavily weight the early part of our class to rajasic energy, because we want to kind of kick out all the cobwebs, get movement going. So at first, when you start your yoga class, you might not be totally tuned in yet. You still might have a lot of competing thoughts on your mind, or your body, especially in the morning, might feel too tamasic, a lot of sluggish energy left in the body. But a properly woven yoga class should take that into account, should kind of weight a little bit more towards getting you go, 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 even if it's not highly skillful action yet. And then as the yoga class proceeds, we start to become more and more present in our bodies, more and more in line with the subtle body energy, and more clarity as to why we're doing what we're doing. When I was a new teacher, the criticism that was offered to me when I did my various exams was that I talked too much. And that's probably a fair criticism to this day. And one of the reasons I talk so much is I'm trying to offer that illumination. I'm trying to offer the education, the wisdom that comes to us from the yoga tradition, so that you will start to adopt a more sattvic, not only on your yoga mat, but in your everyday life, more thoughtful, more illuminated, more clarity, more guided by intention rather than, gut reaction. So living a higher vibrational life is kind of what I'd like to offer in terms of what the yoga teachings are for. So I do talk way too much, but that's kind of what the reason is. I'm trying to offer that level of intelligence or illumination. You can do sun salutations without really understanding why or what's being achieved, or you can do sun salutations with greater depth of understanding. Where do you think you're going to get more sattvic energy from? It's just my bias. So I'd like to start standing today. Different times of the day, maybe different times of your life or the month, you might do different approaches to your yoga practice. But today I'd like to start standing because we're going to work on Rajasic energy right off the bat. And even though I'm aware that when we first come to our yoga mats, we're still quite scattered and we don't really have a firm grasp on clarity of intention, it's still nice to start with some formulation of an intention. Keep it simple at the beginning. So the intention for this first little bit of movement is to awaken or say hello to each one of your joints in a specific order so that we can get the energy flowing in a more balanced way, moving towards that sattvic style of energy. So we're going to start by being aware of our feet. We're weight bearing here in our first mountain pose on our feet. You want to wiggle your toes. See if you can attach your attention to each one of the toes individually. Feel the space amongst the toes. I'm kind of massaging them into my mat, kind of like a kitten who paws her sleeping mat. And then roll onto the outside edges of the feet and the inside edges of the feet a couple times, kind of spreading your feet laterally across the mat. And then let's start combining these kind of movements with breathing. As soon as we do that, we've commanded more of the resources of the mind to breathe and move in concert. And this creates a little bit more skillful action again. Rather than just the stretches, we bring more of the mind's real estate into it. So on this movement, let's come up onto the balls of the feet as we inhale and then lower the heels as we exhale. Now I'm discovering as I do this morning that I have an ankle that's not feeling its best. So this is a great outcome of doing the joint freeing as you find out what you're bringing into practice. Then let's lift one foot and circle the ankle as we inhale and then reverse the direction of the circle as you exhale. This is moving much more slowly than maybe you would unorganized, but it's also a wonderful way to really give your body and mind a chance to work out where any sluggishness needs to be eliminated. While we've got this leg up, let's inhale, straighten the knee, and exhale, bend the knee. Moving quite slowly in concert with your breath. Let's move to the other leg now. We'll do the ankle circles. Reversing the direction of the circle as you exhale. And noticing maybe there's a difference between this ankle and the other one. Maybe the circle doesn't feel perfectly round, it's a bit dented on some sides. And then we'll move into knee. So inhale, straighten knee, exhale, bend. Good. And then let's do the same thing for the arms that we just did for the legs. So beginning with an awareness of the fingers, stretching, and then light fists. We can inhale as we stretch and exhale as we come into a light fist. Good. And then we can do the wrist circles again in time with the breath. So circling in one direction as you inhale and reversing that direction as you exhale. Now I'm doing the wrists together, but hopefully you're paying attention to each individual wrist. So each one and each side of your body is getting equal attention. Inhale, straighten the elbows. Exhale, bend. Try that for a couple breaths. So these movements are pretty simple, but they also help build intelligence and illumination. Good. and then let your arms come down to your sides. I'm going to do a little bit of work from hips, but I'd like to do this from table pose. If you're not sure about weight bearing on the knees, everything we're going to do can be done with your hands on the chair. So feel free to use a chair as liberally as you like. I'm just going to cushion my knees a little bit here. Take a nice long table. So it's not a side table, it's a coffee table. And then I'm going to take the hips, and on the exhale, I'm going to dip the hips down to one side. This doesn't have to be a really large movement. Try to keep your shoulders aligned over your wrists with a slight loosening of the elbow joint. This isn't the deepest stretch that you can achieve. This is just a little nod to the outer hip muscles. And we're doing this earlier in the morning. So noticing if one side feels different than the other. And then I'm going to do a little bit of movement with my leg. I'm going to choose my right leg first. You can go the other side if that makes sense. Inhale, straighten your leg up. And exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest. And as best you can, keep your spine quiet. Keep the pelvis quiet. Just move the leg. And it doesn't have to be the biggest movement. We're just starting class. And then we'll move to the other side. So I'm moving to my left leg now. Moving relatively slowly, keeping my movements timed with my breath in a very skillful way. This builds intelligence. It helps with clarity, what's really going on, and moves me from a rajasic state of mind. Eventually, at the end of towards class, we'll move to that sattvic state of mind. Good. One more thing from here. I'm going to do, sometimes this is called doggy at a fire hydrant. Trying to keep my pelvis quiet. Just lift the leg out to the side as you inhale and pull it back behind the other knee as you exhale. So I'm just moving the leg as best as I can out to the side and then squeeze the legs together. Trying not to open my body up to the side, trying to stay square to the floor underneath me. I'm moving to my other leg now. And so you're not going to lift the leg near as high as you would if you let your back start to twist, because we're just looking at hips right now. Good. Done an equal number on both sides. Now, it's okay in my body to do this morning. It's not always. I'm sitting in thunderbolt pose. If this isn't comfortable for you, please sit in a chair, because everything we're going to do for the shoulders now is really easy to do from a chair. And you'll get much more movement from your shoulders this morning if you're not feeling really compressed in your hips or your knees or your low back. So take use of the chair liberally, build intelligence. So the first movement for the shoulders is some backwards rolls. So on your inhale, feel the shoulder blades kiss at your spine. And as you exhale, see if you can separate the shoulder blades. And so our focus really is upper back. I said shoulders, but really the focus here is upper back at first. One more breath. Good. And then on your next inhale, swing your arms back behind you, and exhale, lift the arms up alongside your ears or something like that. Notice if your arms move in different ways, if they have different ranges of motion this morning. That's all information your brain is welcome to take time to register. And then the last thing I'd like to do is to come into a bit of a cactus arm sort of position. You could always have your elbows a little closer in. And then on the inhale, kind of pull your hands back, a position of surprise, really. And then on the exhale, turn your hands under like, oh, you shouldn't have. So this is like someone's throwing you a surprise birthday party. And then you say, oh, you shouldn't have. Again, making some notes as to differences between the right and the left side. Good. Now let's come back to our table pose. Again, using the chair is going to work just fine for this. We're moving into our first cat-cow type movement. See if you can make the buzzword here this morning, equal mobilization along the whole spine. So from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head, the whole spine does the action. So on the inhale, we're looking for extension of the spine. So the tailbone pushes back to the wall behind you as the chest draws forward of the arms. And on the exhale, we're looking at flexion of the spine, which is an upside down smile, an equal arc from tailbone to head. And then flowing back and forth between your inhale and your exhale. Weight equal in your arms and your legs. Sometimes a tendency to throw all the weight into the hands here. Good. And then a couple more little bits of movement. Again, please feel free to sit in your chair if what I'm about to demonstrate isn't healthy for your knees. It's going to suggest that we come up into gate pose for this next little bit. So I've taken my right leg to extend out to the side, my left hip aligned directly over the left knee. Now you can take this shape by sitting in the chair. Just stretch out your right leg. You need to sit right to the front of the chair to make that happen. Now I'm also going to demonstrate lifting my left arm. If that's uncomfortable for your shoulder, know that you can leave your hand resting on your hip. On your inhale, please really extend the left side of your waist. And as you exhale, arc that length over to the right. Inhale, once again, extend. And exhale, laterally stretch your spine. One more breath. And on the exhale, let's prepare and switch sides. And then inhale, extend your right arm or your right side of your waist. Exhale, arc to the left. I'm noticing such a sense of ease on this side compared to the first side. So that's what we want to do in these movements, is just be aware, just build that intelligence. Wonderful. And then from here, I'm going to come back to sitting in Thunderbolt. If this isn't comfortable, know that you can sit in the chair, and it's essential that your spine be in an effortless upright position from the floor. So if you're sitting, trying to sit cross-legged and your knees are up around your ears, or you thought, well, I'll just stick my legs out. And what will happen is your spine will round when you do that. And you're going to come into this next bit of spinal movement without that intelligence that we want. So please use a chair if you can't sit comfortably like this. And it doesn't mean you're bad at yoga. It means you're actually getting better at yoga because you're getting smarter. That illumination, that clarity in thought. You're not clouded by ego. I've got to do it this way or I'm not good at yoga. That's beginner yoga. That's not advanced. Advanced yoga is knowing when to use the props. So I'm going to invite you just to let your hands rest on your shoulders, whether you're sitting on a chair or sitting on your heels like me. Widen the collarbones, keep the elbows apart. Inhale here. And as you exhale, twist your upper body over towards the right. Inhale, come back to center, and exhale, twist to the other side. So keep the collarbones wide, elbows relaxed, and your sitting bones grounded into the chair or into your heels. We'll just go to each side one more time. And then we've pretty much nodded to every one of the major joints in the body and redistributed our energy from when we first woke up this morning. So let's come to a neutral seat. You can stay here, you can stay on the chair, maybe close your eyes for a second or look down at the floor. Feel your breath moving in your body. Reacquaint yourself with reality now and learn from what your body has to tell you, your experiences in this moment. And that's kind of the underlying theme of this class as we move from being tamasic, from first waking up, to more rajasic, get moving, get energy flowing, to eventually moving towards sattvic, very skillful, very aware, very intentional. So we're building those skills as we come through. Let's come back up to a standing position. I'm going to come into a little bit of sun salutation action. I'm going to demonstrate the first one with a chair, and then the second half I'll demonstrate with knees on the ground. So depending on where you are this morning, you don't have to use a chair. If you can have your knees on the ground, just follow along with the cueing. We've done this together before. So sun salutations are offered as a way to start to really pump the energy through the body. Not only are we breathing more deeply, because this is demanding on the muscles, but also we're like bent over, standing up, do. So we're really squeezing and soaking that energy through the body. We're building up a little bit of rajas with our sun salutations. So let's come to mountain pose at the beginning of the mat. Draw the hands together in a prayerful position at the heart. This is a nice way to remind us, even though we're going into something that's quite aerobic, it is very rajasic, we still have that basic intention to move towards sattvic energy, a balanced energy. So when you're ready to inhale, open the chest, lift and spread the arms. As you exhale, soften the knees as you salute towards the earth. Inhale, straighten the elbows, lengthen the back halfway up. And as you exhale, step the right leg back into lunge pose. On the inhale, you have the option to lift the right arm or both arms. And then as you exhale, step to table pose, knees on the ground or the way I'm demonstrating. Inhale, extend the spine. We practiced this already today. Exhale, round out the back into flexion. As you inhale, step the right leg forward into lunge. Now this might take another exhale just to get the leg all the way forward. Inhale, lift your left arm or both arms if you like. And then exhale, step your feet together once again, folding to the earth. Inhale, grow tall, open to the sun. And exhale, hands to the heart. So that's one way to practice sun salutations. Let's do the second half of that round, knees on ground, in case you want to try it that way. Mountain pose, hands at the heart, demonstrating our intention to move towards a sattvic state of mind this morning. Inhale, open to the sun. Exhale, connect to the earth. Inhale, find halfway. And exhale, step the left leg back into lunge. Inhale, lift the left arm or both arms if you like. Exhale, come to table pose. Inhale, extend the spine. Exhale, round out into flexion. Inhale, step the left foot forward. You may need to have the exhale. You need that time to get the left foot all the way forward. Inhale, lift the right arm or both arms. Exhale, step the feet together and forward fold. Inhale, lift all the way up, hands connect if possible as you bring them back down to the center of the heart. Let's repeat. Inhale, salute the sun. Exhale, connect to the earth. Inhale, lengthen the back. Exhale, step the right leg back. Inhale, lift the right arm or both arms if you like. Exhale, stepping into table pose. Inhale, chest moves up and through the arms. Exhale, come into flexion. Inhale, step the right foot forward between the hands. You may need, or up to the chair, you may need the exhale to get the foot all the way up there. Inhale, lift the left arm or both arms. Exhale, step the feet together, forward fold. Inhale, lift all the way up. Heart reaches to the sun. Exhale, hands to the heart. Second half. Inhale, opening to the sun. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, stepping back the left leg. Inhale, lifting the left arm or both arms. Exhale, table pose. Inhale, smile with your spine. Exhale, an even arc from tail to chest. Inhale, bring the left foot forward. Take the exhale to get that left foot all the way up there. Inhale, lift your right arm or both. Exhale, step your feet together, forward fold. Inhale, lift all the way up. Exhale, hands to the heart. I'm going to keep going. Take breaks whenever you need to. Inhale, lift all the way up to the sun. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, right leg comes back into your lunge. Inhale, lift your right arm or both. Exhale, table pose. Inhale, chest lifts. Exhale, back arches. Inhale, step the right leg forward. Take the exhale to get the knee right up there over the ankle. Inhale, lift the left arm or both. Exhale, step the feet together, forward fold. Inhale, lift all the way up to the sun. Exhale, hands to the heart. Last half round. Inhale, salute the sun. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, left leg comes back into lunge. Inhale, lift left arm or both. Exhale, step into table pose. Inhale, chest lifts. Exhale, belly tucks up. Inhale, step the left foot forward. Take the exhale to get your lunge organized. Inhale, lift the right arm or both. Exhale, step your feet together and forward fold. Inhale, lift all the way up. And exhale, hands to the heart. You can sit in seated mountain pose here or stand in a sacred mountain pose. Chin delicately dipped towards the heart. You may notice your heart beating a little faster because that sun salutation is very rajasic. It gets the blood pumping, the heart pumping. It gets you waking up. That's why it's a salute to the sun. And there's nothing wrong with rajasic energy. We need rajasic energy to get going in the morning. So let's keep working with that. I'm going to ask you to turn sideways on your mat. Turn your toes out. We're going to work a little bit in goddess pose now. Goddess energy is energy to get stuff done, to light a fire, so to speak, in our bodies. So just test bend your knees. As you bend your knees, make sure that your knees are pointing out over your toes. Your knees are moving away from each other, not collapsing in towards each other. Good. And we want to lengthen the spine here. And let's go in and out of goddess pose a couple times. Take 3 breaths. Inhale, and then exhale into your goddess pose. Slowing things down just a little bit compared to sun salutations now, because we're gradually moving towards a more balanced energy state. Next time you come into goddess, let's hold the legs the way they are. And then inhale, open your arms out. You can turn the palms up, bend the elbows a bit if you like. And as you exhale, laterally move towards the right. This reminds me of like an Egyptian. And then over to the left on your next exhale. Let's take that to each side 2 more times. Keep your legs steady and laterally shift your torso from side to side. We're doing this in time with the breath. And then holding here just a little bit longer. Inhale, lift your arms up. And as you exhale, arc gently towards the right. Inhale, come back up to center. And as you exhale, arc gently towards the left. Now your hands could also be resting on your hips if your shoulders are getting tired here. I know the legs are pumping with new energy. There's lots of demand there. Let's go to each side just 1 more time. And we'll be out of goddess pose. So on your next inhale, rise up out of the posture. Exhale, release. Bring your feet together. Shake out your legs if you need to. You can always sit in seated mountain pose if you need that to balance your energy right now. And just kind of closing your eyes if you like, or looking down at the floor. Chin drops towards the chest just a little bit. Again, an outward expression of our desire to find that balanced state of mind and body. Okay. So the next movement is a little bit of a balance challenge. If you find that balance is really elusive today, you can always have your foot resting on something, say the chair seat like this, or a stack of blocks or books or something like that. So if holding your leg up becomes tiresome or you can't find your balance, that would be a wonderful alternative. For mountain pose, let's lift up our right leg and try to keep our knee level with our hip. This is a lot harder than it looks, I think you'll find. So a prop might be really in order. Once again, letting your hands rest on your shoulders, elbows relaxed, collarbones wide. Let's take 3 breaths, twisting to the right. Inhale here. And as you exhale, twist to the right. Woo! My balance is really revealing today, isn't it? So this is good. We're building illumination. We're building awareness. I have to move a little bit more slowly to stop talking so much and pay attention better. That's it. And then come back to your mountain pose. Take a breath between sides. Feel free to use a prop to make this movement a little bit more achievable. And then we'll go to the left. Inhaling straight, and then exhaling, twisting towards the bent knee. In our desire to find balance, we have to move through so much debris, don't we, in the brain, all in service of finding that clarity and that illumination. Back to our mountain pose, back to an opportunity to reflect and absorb. Now I've kind of cleared a little bit of space off on my mat because I want a little bit of room to, well, dance a little bit. We're still in the Rajasic stage of the class. I'm going to take my legs a little bit apart, and I'm facing the side of the mat so I have room to kind of move. And I'm going to swing with my breath a little bit. So when you're ready, let's swing over towards the right as you inhale, and then over towards the left as you exhale. So make this movement your own. It doesn't have to look like my movement at all. We just want to kind of take up the whole mat and have a little bit of fluidity as we step side to side. And then if you want to get a little bit more creative, you can kind of start making more movements with your arms. I'm doing some figure 8 type movements. But you could come up with your own. You could draw Mickey Mouse, have some other fun movement. But these are big movements that really stimulate the energy to move in the body. Okay. And then that's equal from side to side. I'm going to find stillness. I can still face the side of the mat. Do you notice any sense of illumination? Do you notice any sense of clarity starting to build, even though we're doing some vigorous big body movements today? Do you notice that you're more in tune with your breath? Or that your thoughts aren't quite so jumbled or dense or hot, heavy? I've taken my feet a bit wider apart, so I'm claiming the whole mat now. And I'm going to externally rotate my right leg, preparing for side lunge or for side angle pose. So externally rotate your right leg so that when you bend your knee points out over the toes, directly towards the short edge of the mat. Try to notice if there's any crunching or, things that don't feel quite right in your hips or your knees, and adjust your feet accordingly. They don't have to look exactly the same every time you practice this pose. Now, do you remember we did that goddess pose with the Egyptian movement of the torso? We're going to do that over to the right now. So inhale. You can lift your arms up just like we did in goddess pose, and then be like an Egyptian, reaching over to the right until you can release your hand or elbow to your right thigh. And then when you're ready to inhale, swing that arm forward and up, and exhale, swing it back the other way. So make big circles as much as you can with your left arm. Hopefully, this is really stimulating a lot of barrel rolling of your rib cage. Your rib cage is becoming quite liberated from the pelvis, really stretching and easing. Let's reverse the circles for the next 3 breaths. So inhaling and exhaling forward. Just a little change there. How does that change your experience of the pose? Wonderful. And then really inhaling up. And as you exhale, come into a slightly deeper expression of the pose and see if you can leave your left arm stretching out over the left ear. Now continue that opening of the chest forward, that barrel rolling of the chest. So the underside of your ribs are rolling forward. And the top side of your ribs are pulling back to the wall behind you. Try one more breath in side angle pose. And then releasing and coming back to parallel feet. When we create stretch in the body, when we open the body up, there's space now. What's flooding into that open space on the left side of your body? And this is where we hope to start gradually moving now towards a more sattvic state of mind, bringing that illuminating energy, clarifying energy into the open spaces in your body. Let's turn the left leg outward, bend the knee. We'll repeat on this side. So inhale, arms come out like the Egyptian pose we just did, and then exhale all the way to the left, hand or elbow to the thigh. Inhale, sweep the arm forward, and exhale, bring the arm back towards the right. So the focus here is what's going on in the rib cage. Can you feel it kind of barrel rolling around? That's what we're looking for. And then reversing the direction of the circles. Inhaling as you look backwards now. And exhaling as you come forward. One more breath like that. Like liberating that rib cage. And then next time you bring the arm around, let it rest over top of the ear, maybe go a little bit deeper into the side lunge. Bring the bottom ribs forward. Let the top of the ribs move back to the wall behind you, opening the chest, widening the collarbones, breathing deeply. Last big breath here. And then releasing the pose. Stepping the feet into mountain pose. You can always take a seat anytime. That allows you to reflect a little bit more leisurely. Now, a chair could be a really big help to this next pose. So I'll just demonstrate it with the chair. I turn the chair around. So the back of the chair is high enough for me to kind of be at my chest level when I go into this pose. So stepping back halfway on your mat and hinging forward at the hips so that your hands come to the back of the chair and your back is kind of parallel to the floor. So your arms and hands, your body's basically kind of forming a right angle here. And then lifting off weight from your left foot, for example, and bringing the knee up into the chest and then extending it back. You can do that a couple times. It's an echo of a movement we did earlier. Lifting the left leg so it's parallel to the floor. Turn the knee down so the knee faces right to the floor. Your toes will face at the floor. Flex your left ankle. And you're in Warrior 3 pose. Now, say you want to challenge yourself a little bit more here. You're having fun here. You could lift your right hand or left hand up off the chair and just balance on the right leg. Wherever we are, can we be here for one more big breath? And then as gracefully as possible, release back into mountain pose. Balancing poses are always so humbling. You really graphically reveal how sattvic your energy is. When we're in a very rajasic state of mind, we can't balance for our lives. We're all over the map. When we're in too tamasic a state of mind and body, we just don't even have the energy to get up and do that or even try it. It's too hard, I can't. And then hopefully we're in more of a sattvic state of mind sometime in the practice, and balance poses just become more accessible in that state of mind. All right, so from here, mountain pose, I'm going to hinge at the hips, once again taking my hands out to my crotch, finding the right angle in my body, then weight comes onto the left leg as I lift the right. It's like I'm standing on the right foot. I've got that amount of weight and energy and attention into the right foot. And then of course, when you come into the pose, you can lift your hands up off the chair if you want. If you need the chair and you want the chair, it's right there for you. Wherever you are in Warrior 3, one more nice deep breath. And then let's release back into mountain pose. You can always take a seated version of mountain pose if you like. Let's turn sideways on the mat again. Take your feet fairly far apart, and let's do a little flow from side to side like we did before. The flow from side to side is a nice way to kind of release any attachment to how those last postures we performed, because it's not about performing, it's about moving energy and being fluid through these different states of energy. Just one more side to side. There we go. Just discharging any, ego drivenness that comes into this sometimes. Okay, you can stay facing the side of your mat if that works for you. You may want to have a chair with the back to you just so you can touch it to help with balance if you need that. We're starting to move more towards that sattvic state of mind now. So you may find your balance improves as the class progresses or as you move through your yoga journey. Overall, balance will improve. So when you're ready, let's come to tree pose balanced on your left leg. So you can keep the big toe on the ground, or you can lift your foot up onto your leg, whatever you like. Make it a version of tree pose that you can kind of manage. You can always have your hand resting on the back of the chair here, if that's something that's going to work better for you today. And then I'm going to introduce a little movement into chair pose today. So bring your right hand down, left hand up, and see if you can kind of angle your way towards the bent knee. A little bit of extra balance challenge here. This is our inhale. On your exhale, release the foot from your leg, bring your right foot behind your left foot, and give a little bit of a dip, almost like a curtsy. And then back into your angled tree pose. And a little curtsy. One more time. A little bit of something different to think about today. And then back to mountain pose. Take a breath in and out. Take a seat in your chair if you need a break from all of this. And then with intelligence, with clarity, with intentionality, come into tree pose on the other side. You can come into the angled version of tree pose if you like. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, come into a little curtsy. Your left leg dips behind. And one more breath. Very good. And then back to mountain pose. Okay. One last little bit of movement facing here to the side of the mat. You can take your feet a little wider apart. You can let your toes angle out if that feels natural. We'll come into the arms as we inhale. These are the Egyptian arms we used earlier. And as you exhale, twist the body towards the right. Inhale, come back to center, and exhale, twist towards the left. Again, this is a little distribution of energy moving through the whole body. So let the whole body give in to this movement. No need to hold anything rigid. And one more to the left and we're done. Good. And release. Last mountain pose. We started class in this pose today, and we're going to do a little bit more as we get closer to the ground, but this is the last mountain pose. It kind of bookends the whole standing series. How does your energy feel now? If you did do this class first thing in the morning, did you come to the mat with some tamasic energy, some heaviness, sluggishness, dullness? And did your sun salutes and all these unusual kinds of spinal movements, did they introduce a level of sparkliness or busyness or energy building? But as you come to mountain pose, can you find stillness with some grace and willingness? Do you feel clearer headed? And we're going to come down to the ground and we're going to build a little bit more of that clear headedness, I hope. Now, if you don't like to weight bear on your knees, you can do this next posture sitting in your chair. You still might want to use the block between your thighs though. So just sit near the front of your chair and place the block and follow the cueing from there. If you're okay being on your knees, you can come down like this and place a block if you have it with the flat side in between your legs. If you don't have a yoga block, you can use a full box of Kleenex. That works pretty good. And that's optional. You really don't need it. I just find that the yoga block brings more attention into the foundation of this pose and just generally engages the muscles of the hips and pelvis in a more stable way. Initially, let's take our hands to our backside, fingers pointing down over the curvature of the buttocks. Widen the collarbones. Lift the breastbone up towards the ceiling and drop the weight of your elbows towards the floor. Find your breath. So we're coming into camel pose. Notice the depth of breath. Now you're welcome to stay right here. Take breaks whenever you need to. If you're looking for a little bit deeper expression of the pose, drop your hands back down to your heels, or if you have a couple yoga blocks, they can go to yoga blocks. Notice I dropped straight back to find my heels. I didn't drop one hand and then the other. Principles are the same. Collarbones wide, breastbone lifting directly up to the sky. Follow your breath. Wherever you are, take one more deep breath. And then releasing the pose, coming to a neutral seat. So if you're on a chair, you're set already. If you're on your knees, see if this is possible, coming back into thunderbolt pose. If this isn't possible, maybe sitting in a chair. Notice your breath. Notice the flush of energy settling in your body. Like a snow globe, you know, you shake a snow globe and all the little crystals settle. That's what might be happening for you as all the energy settles in your body. Then if you've been using the chair, perhaps you'd like to join us on the floor. I've got this blanket and I'm going to fold it so it's about 2 inches thick. I find that this is really helpful for this next posture to help my back find its ease. I'm going to come into bound angle pose, sometimes known as cobbler pose. So what I want to do is I want to sit just at the edge of the folded blanket. It feels like my pelvis is kind of cascading or anterior tilting forward. And then I'm going to make a diamond shape with my legs. Now, if you want to use the chair, you can just sit at the front of the chair, bend your knees out to the side and bring your feet together and create a diamond shape with your legs sitting in the chair. But let's see what this feels like to do it on the ground. So you don't have to bring the heels really close into your groins. We're working from a positioning of intelligence and clarity and intentionality. So my shape is different than your shape. It's different than someone else's shape. So bring your legs into a loose diamond shape that's comfortable, that you can maintain an upright spine, that you can feel at ease in your shoulders and with your breath. So let's take a moment to habituate to this, to inhabit this pose just as it is. And then we can think about some forward folding here, although it's not something that is good for all bodies all time. We want to try to be able to keep this sense of the spine in alignment rather than rounding out into cat back. So angle at the hips forward just until you feel you have to start rounding out your spine to get any further, and then stop. The chin can dip slightly towards the heart. Hands rest wherever they're comfortable, on the floor, on your legs, on your feet. And then go back to awareness of the breath. Notice where the breath is moving your body. And don't go anywhere in this posture that holds your breath, your body back from breathing. The posture gradually unfolds, but we're in no hurry. The rajasic energy of the practice is starting to settle into more sattvic energy now. Let's take one more breath, experiencing Baddha Konasana. And then slowly lifting upright if you were forward folding. Lift your knees and stretch your legs out in front of you. And so if you were on the chair, you may want to come down to the ground, as we're kind of going to stay close to the ground for the rest of the class. Know that you can have a rolled blanket or towel under the backs of your knees, because your knees don't have to be flat to the floor, especially if you feel really stuck in forward folding postures. And because I'm always looking for ways to stretch my calves, I keep my feet in dorsiflexion all the way through this. So it's like my feet are against a wall or something here. And just like we did in the last pose, I want to find the alignment in the spine first, an easeful upright spine. So you might need even more blanket underneath your sitting bones than what I demonstrated. And then inhale into that space you've created in your spine. And as you exhale, begin to angle forward. And we'll take the same approach as we did to Baddha Konasana, in that we're just going to angle forward as long as we can keep the spine straight. We're not going into rounded back. As long as we can just keep the spine straight. It might not be a big angle, but it's kind of like our bodies are a penknife, and the penknife is collapsing. One half of the penknife doesn't bend. They both stay straight, but they come together, right? They hinge. So our bodies are like that hinge in the hips right now. And then I want to inhabit the space. I want to stay there. You can let the chin dip a little bit towards the heart if you like. Close your eyes if you like. But don't go anywhere that inhibits the movement of your breath. And it might not be a big forward fold. It might not be grabbing at your feet. It might not be belly on thighs. Take a couple more breaths here. And then slowly bringing your spine back upright, and we'll come down onto our back for one little bit of finishing movement. This is a movement that happens in a little sequence. So it kind of keeps your intelligence engaged rather than letting you go into automatic pilot. So coming down onto your back, we're not going to lift back up before Shavasana. So if there's socks or sweaters you need to get organized, this is all time to do that. Once you get onto your back, bend your knees, stand your feet on the floor. Let yourself feel the support of the earth. And then let's go into a little sequence with our legs. So lift one foot, then the other up off the floor. Bring your hands to your kneecaps. Arms are straight. Tap into your breath rhythm. Inhale here. As you exhale, draw one knee gently in towards the chest, so your legs are scissoring a bit. Inhale, release, arms are straight again. Exhale, draw the other knee in towards your chest. And then inhale, arms are straight again. And on the third exhale, draw both knees in towards your chest. Let's repeat that sequence 2 more times. One knee comes in. Other knee comes in. And then both knees come in. So the last time, I'll practice being quiet as you repeat that sequence once more. Good. And then if you'd like, we can release out into Shavasana to finish practice. Allow your body to settle towards the ground. As best as you can, release into stillness. Shavasana, ideally, is the perfect expression of sattva. We're awake, not sleeping, relaxed and heavy towards the ground, but simultaneously light and open in spaciousness to the breath. And although the mind is alert and very present, it's not trying to control, organize, plan, judge, worry. The mind is very interested, but not invested. Notice the quality of your breath. See if you can register what it feels like to breathe when you're in a sattvic state of mind. What's the expression on your face? How do you experience your body? If you have a little bit more time to experience this state of mind, please stay right where you are. But I'm respectful of the amount of time you set aside for this class, and we'll stick to that. If you choose, you can gradually make your way to a seated position, even though you're introducing movement now. See if you can stay in that clear, intentional state of mind. And we can close our class by sharing the sacred sound of Om. Om chanting is a way to achieve a sattvic state of mind without all the work we just did. I'm inhaling now. Namaste. And to stop the recording. So if you would like to unmute, we could visit